Hello and welcome to our second project. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of this project as well as how the videos will be structured. So let's formalize the idea of what we want to create. So we're going to create an application that keeps track of the prices of precious metals. And we'll start off with gold and silver, but once the application's been created, we should be able to pass it any type of precious metal and get the data back. Now, for each of these precious metals, we want the application to do a couple of things. So the first thing is we want to get the current price of the metal. We then want to save that price to a database. Once we have enough data points, we want to be able to visualize that data, and we're going to visualize it with a line chart. And finally, we want to create a schedule for checking the prices. So these are the four parts of the application, and once all four parts have been built, we will then have a complete application that keeps track of the prices of precious metals. Now, I'm going to split up this project into 4 videos, and each video is going to focus on one thing. So for the first video, it will focus on building the Python class that will handle getting the current price of the metal. Then the second video is going to be all about how to create a database, how to design the table, and how to insert and then get the data back from the database. So the second video is going to be all about that. The third video is going to be about how to create a line graph given the data that we've collected so far. And then finally, for the fourth video, I will show you how to create a schedule for checking the prices. Now, I want to give you a bit more detail into each of these 4 videos. So for the first video, we're going to do some research to find a data provider that can give us the prices of precious metals. Once we have this data provider, we can then build out the Python class to get the current price of the metal, and we'll be using the Python third-party library called requests to interact with the data provider and get the current price of the metal. Once we've successfully done that, we will have completed the first video. And for the second video, we will then take that price of the metal that we got back from the data provider and save it to our database. So to do that, we'll be using a Python third-party library called SQLAlchemy. And SQLAlchemy is a Python library to help us interact with the database, and it's database agnostic, meaning that we could be using any type of database. It could be MySQL or Postgres or SQLite. It doesn't really matter, because SQLAlchemy helps us to abstract away from the actual database implementation and just focus on the Pythonic interface to the database. So I'll show you how to use SQLAlchemy to create the database and to insert data into the database and to get the data back out. For the third video, we're going to look at how to generate the line chart using the Python library called Plotly. And once we have the line chart, we can then export that line chart as an image file, and then that might be useful if you want to, for instance, send yourself an email with the line chart data. And for the fourth and final video, we'll be using the Python library called Celery to create a schedule for checking the prices. Celery is a distributed task queue, and it's typically used for 2 different types of work. The first is when you have some large amount of work that you want to efficiently distribute across multiple workers. You can use Celery to do that. And the second type of work that Celery is good for is to schedule tasks to be run in the future. So we're going to be using Celery to schedule the checking of the prices. And that's a whole lot more efficient than manually doing it, manually running the application. So we'll be using Celery to do that. So this summarizes the idea of the project that we'll be building and how I'll be splitting the entire project across 4 different videos. And if this sounds interesting to you, then please check out the first video, which I'll link in the description below, and we can get started with building the Python class to get the current price of the metal.